Well, TGIF, Mindcraft listeners. Giovanni and I are here by the second beaver pond. We don't usually often come in the evening. We're usually early birds. Because at night, especially in the fall, it's creature-ish. And it's going to get creature-ish pretty soon. But anyway, what we want to talk about today are the 3 keys to happiness. I actually have a video, if you go back, and it was a couple years ago, 12 keys to happiness, because if you get into all the little ones. But the top 3, without question, are be mindful, be grateful, and let as much go as possible. So here's the thing, before you hang up on me, hopefully you don't, people get mindfulness confused with meditation, like you got to sit in a cave. My kids used to say crisscross applesauce with your palms up like a Tibetan monk eating yogurt. And no offense to monks, I'm a big fan of monks, actually. They're very peaceful, centering, anchoring for the rest of us that are flying around, right? And so that doesn't involve that at all. Mindfulness is not meditation. Sometimes you'll hear it as mindfulness meditation, but that's more rhetorical. Because really, mindfulness is about being present in this moment. That's it. You can do anything mindfully, which is why I love it. Those of us who are in the Fast Mind Club, which is AKA ADHD, but I don't like to say that because the Fast Mind Club is way more positive. We have a better chance of, I don't know, flying to Mars than creating a thought vacuum. That's just not what it's about at all. And mindfulness, in other words, instead of trying to sit there and vacate, get rid of all your thoughts, which isn't going to happen, right? Especially for a fast minder, if you try to do that, that would be like opening every door and window in the house and inviting all the neighbors to come in, the obstetrician who delivered you, everybody, inviting them in. So that's not how it works, because the mind is like the ocean. It's like waves, like John Kabat-Zinn says that. And since we can't stop the waves, we may as well learn to surf. And so mindfulness is more about accepting that the monkey chatter, and it's actually more apt to dissipate when we kind of acknowledge it and let it go by, kind of like an unwanted guest. And I forget where this example came from, but maybe it's mine. I don't remember. But like if somebody's, I use the college kid example. Like if somebody's, kind of annoying on the floor, doesn't mean they're a bad person or anything like that, but kind of annoying, and they want to come by because they know you're having a party. You're like, oh no, he's going to talk our ears off or whatever like that. The best thing to do is actually, rather than everybody ducks under the couches and hides the pizzas and the artichoke dip and everything, instead of doing that, open the door, let him talk for a minute, let him go on his way. It's kind of like anxiety's like that too. Kind of acknowledge that it's there, acknowledge that the overwhelm is there or whatever, and let it kind of go on its way. Acknowledge that it's happening like an unwanted guest, and there you go. And so mindfulness more does that. It kind of, like meditation is trying to get rid of thoughts mostly. There's standing ones and sitting ones and lake ones and river ones. And I'm not saying don't do those because they're good for your well-being. It says that ain't going to work for me for sure. So better than for me is to be mindful, because this is the thing. Well, when we're mindful, we just acknowledge that thoughts are happening. We say, okay, here comes an anxious thought. Apparently, I'm feeling a little nervous today. So what? Who cares? And welcome to the human race. That's one reason I like mindfulness, is it doesn't judge. You know what? It does not judge. It's like you can have an angry thought. There it goes. Okay, I'm a little angry today. All right, I'm pissed off. There it goes. And I love it that it doesn't judge. That's one of my favorite parts of it, actually. And here's the thing. Once we get better at not judging ourselves, that's the freaking gift that keeps on giving, because we get better at not judging other people. Because we kind of realize we're all having stuff going on, right? And the other reason I love mindfulness so much is it's kind of like meditation on the go. From somebody who's got a very fast processing speed, I'm moving and grooving all the time. I love that it's just about being actively engaged in your life. So skiing mindful, I'm a skier. I'm a big skier. I love to ski. Actually, I'm a little skier. I'm only 5'0", nothing. But in the trees, if I'm not mindful, that could be catastrophic. And it's just such that moment. Gosh, what it feels like when you've been immersed in the moment, even for 10 quick minutes. It's just, you can't even put words to it. It's so great. So I like that you can wash the dishes. You can have, I gotta be careful what you say on YouTube, but 5-star intimacy with a partner. You're shaking the world. Good for you. and, whatever it is, but you're just being actively in whatever it is, a conversation, you're washing the dishes, you're scrubbing the bathroom, it doesn't matter. If you're going to brush your teeth, be in it. So that's mindful. It's one of the number one key to happiness is to be mindful, because here's the thing. We've talked about this. Thoughts come first and feelings second. So therefore, if you're in the present moment, right, you're in the present moment, they're kind of just going by. You can't feel anxious. It's actually neurologically impossible to feel anxious without having anxious thoughts first. So if you're actively in the moment, let's say with your golden retriever in the woods, it is neurologically impossible for you to feel anxious or depressed or angry or whatever the feelings are, because you're in the moment. There's no room for it. Okay? So next up on the list is gratitude. People say, woo-woo, touchy-feely. No way, Jose, okay? My doctorate's in cognitive psychology, which is basically having a doctorate in how the brain works. And I'll tell you, you can see the changes on fMRIs. You can actually see changes in the brain. So if you don't know what an fMRI is, the MRI is like that claustrophobic coffin-looking thing that if you blow out your knee or something, that's what you do. The little italics F means functional MRI, which means when you put that on somebody, it's chasing around like the brain activity. So it's basically the cells that use up the most oxygen, or they light up. Usually it's like the fire colors, reds and yellows and stuff like that. So we can actually see brain changes on an fMRI. And so sense thoughts come first and feelings second, right? I do this every day of my life with a gratitude journal. I am grateful for, I am grateful for, I am grateful for. You need those words, I am grateful for, because the neurons are like wayward toddlers needing constant direction. No, not that way, this way. No, not that way, this way. They need you to be the boss. So you got to say, I'm grateful for my golden retriever. I'm grateful for the woods. I'm grateful for my partner. I'm grateful for that things are going to get better for me. Not just the golden retriever, my health, things are getting better, or whatever I said. You got to say, I am grateful for. And then after about 3 weeks, which comes from Charles Duhigg, he's the author of The Power of Habit, I believe. It takes about 3 weeks on average for a habit to shift and stick. And so we say on average because starting a habit of eating a piece of fruit in the morning is not the same as quitting smoking, right? And and I have my students, about 3 weeks in with their gratitude journals, my Mindcraft students, I said, who's seen changes? And inevitably, like a handful, like at least a half a dozen, like hands are flying in there. Professor, I can't believe it. Wow, and basically they're saying, I'm seeing more positive in my life. I feel happier, the whole thing, because the brain loves patterns, positive or negative, it loves patterns. So once you're kind of training it that way, it takes on a life of its own, unconsciously, and you'll start to filter out more positive information from your day, and therefore start to see more positivity in your day and in your life. So it's a super cool thing. All right, so that gets into what else was I going to say about that? Oh, the Tetris effect. So the Tetris effect, if you know the game Tetris, which is about putting shapes, colored shapes in a row, like in a organized. So they go together, little groups, whatever. And it was found research-based. We're walking uphill. Research-based. It was found with accountants that when accountants, think about what an accountant does all day, right? Actually, I got to back up first. It was found that with playing Tetris for as little as 15 minutes, people would naturally go into, grocery store or whatever, and their brain would start to kind of put the cereal, like not just mentally, put their cereal boxes. Giovanni, no, come here, come on, no, G, come here, G, come on. There we go. He's chasing. We don't need that. We start to put cereal boxes, together mentally because they were the same colors, shapes, sizes, whatever. And so it was found with accountants that, we know what accountants do, right? They look for mistakes all day long, especially during tax season. They're looking for errors. And it was found with accountants that they were taking that pattern home with them and looking for errors and mistakes in their lives and their partners and their parents and the people who, came to do the plumbing, whatever. And it was interesting because I had a senior student once, and she was absolutely lovely. We were going over this in Minecraft, and all of a sudden I watched her go like this. She was like, oh my God, that's me. Because she was an accounting major, and she had an internship 2 or 3 days a week. She said, oh my gosh, that's happening to me. Oh my gosh, I didn't know what that was. And so here's the good news with that. That's because the brain loves patterns. The Tetris effect can work in a negative sense, like the one I just explained with the accountants. It can also work in a positive sense, like with the gratitude journal. So your brain, this is what I was saying with the patterns, the Tetris effect works in our favor when it comes to the gratitude journal. And so that's why after about 3 weeks, it gets easier, and it gets easier and easier and easier. I've been doing it for decades. When I finish one, I throw them under my dresser. I start another one, and you'll get more positive. More positive, until, you know, kind of like playing a guitar. When you first play guitar, you get the calluses, right? Because it's new and it takes a lot of work. After a while, the calluses go away and you're playing Margaritaville because it got easier. Well, it's the same with learning how to become more positive and by keeping a gratitude journal. Okay, so those are the first two, mindful, grateful. And then last one is let as much go as possible. Okay, so just 2 columns, going to be very general. The let it go column, which should be much longer than the make a stand column, right? The make a stand column is if, you know, somebody says something racist or, you know, somebody's mistreating you. Not just a little crispy, because if it's a little crispy, let it go. They probably had really something bad happened to them on the way into work or something. Who cares? If it's something that really matters, like somebody's cruel, or something, well, that needs a conversation. But the high majority of the time, we can let a lot of stuff go, especially stuff we have no control over. So you can do those 2 columns. What can I control? It's really almost the same columns. What can I control and what can I not control? And just let as much of it go, especially the need to be right. That is so overrated. It's so much more important to be kind than right. And again, it's also more peaceful to be kind than right. If it's to take a stand, somebody says something anti-Semitic or homophobic or whatever, well, then you got to speak up, obviously. But most of the time, that's not it, and we don't need to be right about all of it. The article you just read, even if you are, whatever somebody else just said was outdated. You got the new information hot off the press in the morning and a podcast on your way into work, and you just want to be like, ooh, I know. No, you don't need to do it. Let it go, or just say it in a way that's not know-it-all-ish, And so those are the 3 big keys, and I'm a happy little bugger. Telling you, I'm probably happy. I don't know, maybe 98% of the time. And it's because I do those 3 things. And there are others. You can look up the video with the 12 keys to happiness because there are more. But those are that big 3. And mindfulness and gratitude are actually the foundation for Mindcraft, because Mindcraft is about becoming the boss of your brain. Because this is where it all happens. We're the authors of our own script. We're the jockeys on the horse. We talked about that. And so as soon as we get that, the better off we are, because otherwise, and I used to say this too, or I still do say this, there are really just 2 choices when it comes down to it, right? Either we can control our thoughts. I would say this to my students, either we can control our thoughts, or my students would say, or our thoughts control us. Exactly. So which is more pleasant? Obviously, controlling your own thoughts is more pleasant. Is it that easy? Not in the beginning. Is it that simple? Yes. So I usually hold up my 2 hands since I can't since holding the camera. But is it that easy? Yes. I'm sorry. Is it that easy? No. Is it that simple? Yes. Because again, it's literally neurologically impossible. He's got a little drink. He's so cute. It's neurologically impossible to feel anxious, overwhelmed, pissed off, depressed, any of the things. You can't feel that way without thinking it first. It's impossible. Even if it's an automatic thought, you had to think it first. So what I would do with the Minecrafters, I'd say, play with somebody I know is okay with it. And I'd say, let's, Jonathan, when I'm trying to make my point, because they would get confused with automatic thoughts like checking a door or something. You're still thinking, even though you're not aware of it. So I would say, if we were going to, carve into Jonathan's brilliant head with kindness and anesthesia and took out his very intelligent mind and put it in a fishbowl of formaldehyde on the shelf, what would Jonathan be feeling? I mean, nothing, because without the brain. And then I say that whole thing about people say you are what you eat, you're what you eat. No, you're not. And I'm not dismissing nutrition, because obviously nutrition's super important. It's very important. We are what we think is what we are. We become what we think about all day long. Think about it. That whole Jonathan example with the brain. without the brain, how important is that orange juice or apple? Not so much. Okay, so it's about becoming the boss of your brain. So 3 big keys to happiness: mindfulness, which means being engaged in your life in this moment, spending your life minutes as if they're cash. 2, gratitude. And 3, let go as much as possible. TGIF. Thank God, thank goodness it's Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.